Good morning, everyone. I hope all of you are doing really well. And I am just settling in, getting some things set up. Uh, so, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. And feel free to come on in and to make yourself comfortable. I would encourage everyone, this is a great time to get yourself a warm beverage or a cool beverage, whatever your preference is. I have one of each. I'm finishing a cup of tea, but I also have a tall glass of cool water. I'm just putting on some meditative music for myself in the background. If you are here, I would love for you to let me know that you're here. Hello. All right, good morning from Lysandra Mia Treadwell. Good to see you this morning. Welcome in. Appreciate you being here. As you're coming in, please be sure to like this video, to share. If you have not subscribed, I invite you to do that as well. And we will get started in just a moment. There's a few things I definitely want to make mention of before I get into today's talk, if you will. So first, welcome to Unfiltered Perspectives. I'm Tasheen from TPT Intuition, and I am here to create a space where intuitives can learn, share, grow together. I believe as I grow and I rise, so do you, and we all do so together. So be sure to, as well as liking, sharing this video and subscribing to the channel, please and thank you, that you click on the notification bell and set your notifications to all so that you can stay updated to any new content that comes out when it comes out. Because I work in energy spurts and I definitely sometimes put out a lot of stuff and sometimes I don't put out very much. So I definitely want you to stay updated when new stuff comes out so that you can enjoy it. Also, you'll see scrolling on the ticker below ways in which you can support me in your own way. You are welcome to offer a gift or a donation via CashApp, Venmo, or PayPal. The ways to do that, again, are on the ticker below. Any amount is appreciated. And also, if you have it in your heart to give, but you're not able to do so, that is okay. And may the universe bless you to do so when you are able to. So I want to get into what I wanted to share because I feel the time has come for me to begin sharing my perspective on things as it pertains to the law of assumption, as to where really this channel is about and, well, really what this channel is about and why I created it. I created it back in 2021, knowing that I was feeling pulled to lean more into a spiritual path for my life. I grew up in the conservative Christian background, specifically in the Apostolic Pentecostal Church. And I still love many aspects of my growing up. I grew up in a small church and definitely still have fond memories of what I learned and what I was taught, and a lot of the culture and the music and the spiritual aspects of prayer and praise and worship that come with that. And while my theology and my religious leanings have evolved and become more progressive in my life, I am okay with there being a mixture of what I had and evolving into where I want to go while also enjoying what is going on at present. So last year in 2023, I started making robotic affirmation videos. I started doing so first just as a tool to help myself because I came into learning about the law of assumption in December of 2022. And it was a big conversation that was going on Twitter at the time, now called X, but I still affectionately call it Twitter. I felt like, as someone who has wrestled with mild depression and anxiety, I'm always looking for tools and ways to regulate my nervous system. So, a few of those tools for me are listening to smooth jazz, um, listening to meditative music, participating actively in meditation, and robotic affirmation videos. I was looking for some on YouTube and didn't see that many. And God was like, hey, why don't you share the videos you're making for yourself with the world? And thus, I began doing that. And so there's over 100 videos on the channel right now, many more to come in the future. So continue to listen to those. Many of you who are listening, and hello, as Stephanie Perry would say, hello, friends from the future. If you happen to find this and you're listening to it, definitely feel free to continue to share in the comments, as you guys have done, suggestions for themes and affirmations and video styles and types you would like to see in the future. Um, Definitely would love to create a more systematic approach to creating these videos, just because I'm only one person, but I'm doing the best I can with what I have, and I'm very grateful. Yeah, Lysandra, I listen. Growing up that way, yeah, there's something about it. Even if you like know that you have evolved from it, or you have to gently close that chapter of your life. And even for many of us in the culture, when I say the culture, speaking African American culture, even if you know like you have to walk away from it or you never really participated in it, it is a quintessential part of our culture. So I feel that for many of us, no matter really where we go in life, it's just part of who we are. And I'm happy with that being part of who I am. But the main thing I want to talk about is, I know that on my channel, my most popular video is a robotic affirmation video, one of my favorites, titled I Manifest Anything Instantly. And so far to date, it has over 8,000 views. I'm grateful for every one of them. And one thing I want to dig into today is, I think sometimes people do not realize nor take into account just how powerful they are. And we tend to place limitations on what power is and what it looks like based on a third dimensional understanding. And so that's something I want to dig into on this morning. And that's why this morning's talk video, this episode of Unfiltered Perspectives with TPT Intuition, is titled How Powerful? Very Powerful. The very part, the how and the very are truly up to you. But I want to take time this morning for us to dig into what that is for ourselves. A growing stream of consciousness I tend to hear, especially in the law of assumption community, is that you can do some things, but not others. Or um, we often, people in a position as I am in to teach or to coach, we tend to tell people what they can do, what they can't do, or how they should do something. And from my perspective, before I even came into the law of assumption, I've been a certified life coach for the past 4 years, and I'm currently finishing up coursework on a master coach certification. That my approach has always been to learn about the person I'm working with, my client, and learn from them, okay, what is it? What ways do you do things? What ways feel good? What ways feel right for you? Oftentimes, we think that what feels good or what feels right for you is the same thing that is applicable to everybody. And it isn't. There are 8.1 billion souls on this planet. So there are 8.1 billion different ways to see something, know something, hear something, feel something, touch something, and perceive something. And when we begin to shift our perspective on teaching and coaching and explaining how, then we'll be able to allow people to have the freedom to move as they see fit. Bear with me here a moment. I had some notes that I had made for myself and wanted to pull those up. But while I'm pulling those up, I do encourage you to follow me on Twitter/X if you are not already. At TPT Intuition, that is the one social media site that I am most active on besides YouTube. So I encourage you all to follow me there. And when you do, let me know that you did, because I just might follow you back. All right. So being the teacher that I am, I love to start just like from the basics. Everyone who may not know, I want you to know first that the law of assumption basically is what you assume to be true is. And I want that to be clear because many people talk about the positive aspects, that if you assume these positive things, they become your reality. But I want to bring to our awareness that that's for anything: positive, negative, neutral, indifferent. If you assume that a certain aspect of life is negative, then it's negative. If you assume a certain aspect of life is positive, then it is. If you see yourself in a neutral way, not good, not bad, not positive, not negative, then it is. Whatever you assume to be true is. And so, in manifesting anything instantly, I want to focus on this piece next because, again, offering the preface of my spiritual religious background. Instant and instantaneous manifestation. I do believe that there are things that can happen instantly because growing up in the Apostolic Pentecostal Church, we truly believed that, and I still do, that if you're sick, you call on the elders of the church to pray for you and you will be made whole. You'll be healed. And I've seen in my own life, just sitting in church or just seeing that manifestation become a reality where someone came in and they were sick and they were healed. People who walked in on crutches did not need them anymore. People who were wheeled in on wheelchairs and they were able to get up from that wheelchair and walk. Um, I believe it can be that instantaneous in real life. Now, again, because the law of assumption states that what you assume to be true is, if you don't think that things in the third dimensional reality in which you are co-creating with God cannot be true for you, or that a process has to take place in order for things to happen, then that is what it is. And that isn't bad or wrong. That is just your perception at this time. That's it. But also, when we talk about instantaneous manifestation, yes, it's about making that shift in your mind that you have whatever it is you say you have. To speak in and think and act and move and live in such a way that whatever you have declared is yours already is in your possession. And so that's why I'm not a big fan of the phrase fake it till you make it, because in your world, in your reality, if something is true, are are you? I don't think a person is if they really believe that something uh, if something for them in their world is true, if something in my world is true, if I believe that when I'm sick I can instantaneously be made well, or that when I'm recovering from something I recover quickly, I believe that it's true, it happens. So if I already, if you believe like certain things about your love life, for example, that your specific person, your partner behaves in a certain way, and it's the exact way you want them to behave, to live, to act, to treat you, then that's what it is. And the most important part to maintain about that is to make sure that once you declare it, you don't speak or act or think or behave in a way that negates that. Oftentimes, many of us, the first test that we get is with ourselves. That are we, as spiritual beings, going to hold ourselves and our humanity to account for what we have just declared? That's the part that I think many of us have to continue to really be disciplined with ourselves about, because you know that you are able to manifest anything you want at any time you want, whenever you are ready to do it. The next thing that comes, and I like it, and many of my comparatives I will make to being in church on Sunday morning. It's like when you sit in church and you hear the sermon, and how some people, the first test they get about the sermon, it doesn't come on Monday morning. when you go to work or you go to school or you interact with your family. No, it comes Sunday afternoon at the dinner table. to, like to see like, hey, were you really listening to what your spirit was receiving? And oftentimes that's sometimes we're not so good with that as we think we are, and we're not as good as that as we should be. And if we took out the time to, we hear like affirm and persist. If we persisted right from the get-go, as soon as we declared it, and we let nothing stop us, let nothing be in our way, then we will know for sure and accept for certain that what we have declared belongs to us. Which leads me to the next point. With that comes the recognition of your power. With great power comes great responsibility. The first person you have to be responsible for is yourself. So now that you're aware of how powerful you are, be aware and thoughtful of what you declare. Because the law of assumption is neutral. It is just as powerful when you declare that something will not go well for someone or will not go well for yourself, as it is for saying what will go well for yourself or what will go well for others. And I think sometimes like we focus on like the positive aspects and we don't realize, some people will call it wavering. We don't realize the negative thoughts we have. And because we have lived a life where we have been programmed to live in fear, in scarcity, in lack, because we've sat in that for decades, it is very easy for one negative thought to come up and for you to stay in that negative thought and to get back on that train that you already know, because negativity, fear, scarcity, those are a part of our pathological understanding. If you've always known it, then you always know that that's the only alternative, or that's the only thing to which you can turn. But the more you continue to affirm what you want, what you desire, and allow yourself to know that all of those good, wonderful things are possible, then the better things will get for you. And also the better your perception of your reality becomes. Like there are some people who always see a glass as half empty. They're always thinking about what's missing. They're always thinking about what they don't have. They're always thinking about how they're not, quote unquote, there yet. While the person who's always seeing the glass as half full, they are anticipating a full cup. They're grateful for what's in the cup in that moment, and they're there. It's one thing to say, I'm getting ready. It's another thing to know that you are ready. It's one thing to say, oh, I'm getting there. It's a whole different reality you oftentimes we tend to psych ourselves out. We tend to disqualify ourselves. We tend to eliminate ourselves from the contention of our best possible life because we're focused on not having what we want to have. And because comparison is the thief of joy, we tend to look at what others have and at their reality. And because we don't know the full story of their reality, we want someone else's reality rather than having gratitude for our own reality and the ability to co-create and change our reality in an instant. And so that's why I think self-concept is important. Now, I'll preface here and I'll say, is self-concept necessary to manifest instantly? No, it is not. But when you become aware of the law of assumption, when you become aware of your ability to declare your life as you desire it to be, then you are in a position where you say, you know what? I want my life to be aligned by what I'm creating. And you begin to take inspired action. Inspired action meaning that you are doing things that you want to do because they lift you up, they bring you joy, they excite you, rather than doing things that you feel that you have to do to be good enough, to be qualified, to feel like you can be accepted so that you can have validation from others about having the life you want. The only validation you need is your own. Um, I feel that we're all already validated by God because we are here. And once you're here, that's enough. Unfortunately, we're not informed of that information uh, from a very early age. And thus, not being informed of that information, we look for it in all the wrong places because we're not looking for it within ourselves. So it's so important to know, once you realize like what the law of assumption is, that what I assume is what is, the power that comes from knowing that, the power that comes from being able to manifest instantly, the responsibility of that power, meaning that that power doesn't look or just feel a certain kind of way, that it can be beyond what you think it is, and it can be everything in between what you think it is. And then realizing that self concept isn't necessarily necessary in order to have the life that you desire, but that it's helpful to ensure that you continue to develop your self concept, your self esteem, your self image, so that you can have, maintain, and enjoy the life you desire. Then you can begin to really go beyond the so called limitation, um, and really reach into that ionospheric kind of realm where nothing is difficult for you. When you realize that you are one with God and God is one with you, scripture says, is there anything too hard for God? And then you ask yourself, is there anything too hard for you? And you realize that there isn't. You realize that you do based on what you feel like doing. You do based on your needs, your wants, your desires, not necessarily upon the expectations of others. One last thing I definitely want people to think about and consider when we talk about manifesting anything instantly is tuning out the noise. Around your expectations of you and your relationship in co-creation with the divine, with God. Not everyone believes in you the way you and God believe in you. That is okay. When you realize that your perception, your belief, all of that is individual, then you realize that limitlessness is as is as varied as the person perceiving it. And so to some, limitlessness is viewed in one way. To you, it could be far greater and far more expansive than that. And I think it's so important that while we take out the time to, while we read different texts, while we study to know for ourselves, I think it's important to remember that your perception of what being limitless is yours. That perception doesn't belong to anyone else. No one else is going to look at it the way you look at it. Even if you have a manifestation buddy or you have a friend who is on a similar wavelength to you and gets it, what their interpretation of that is and what yours is going to be different. And it's so important that you honor yourself in realizing that maybe, hey, I see it in a way that this other person doesn't see it, or the way this person on social media sees it. And that's okay, because it creates space for compassion for one another on the journey, because everyone is learning, everyone is figuring things out as they go along. And I think it's helpful so that we don't try to make everyone be what we are. If we're trying to make everyone be like us, then people are not being themselves. And being yourself, I think, is the most beautiful part of the law of assumption, because everyone is creating their own reality. Even the people who are in your reality, whether they realize it or not, they're creating their own reality too. There's so much more that I definitely want to get into, but I literally couldn't pull up my notes, so I was vibing off the top of my head here, and I enjoyed doing that. So this is something I will definitely be picking up next week. So a few things that I want to say and I want to share before we conclude. Um, Hello, friends from the future, and everyone who's watching. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be sure to let me know in the comment section your thoughts, your feelings about all that I've shared. If you have any questions that you would like for me to address in a future episode of Unfiltered Perspectives, feel free to list that in the comment section below. I definitely will revisit this section later on this week and uh, pick from any suggestions you may have to offer. Also, be sure to check out the YouTube channel. Memberships are open, so think about if you'd like to become a member in October. I'll be setting up the Patreon this week for all of my international friends who would like to be members as well. There are 4 tiers, and I don't know them off of the top of my head, but I will make sure to talk about that next week in more detail. As well, we do have the store. There's merch available, so feel free to peruse through that and purchase something that interests you or aligns with you. There's mugs, there are t-shirts, there are hoodies, so be sure to check all that out. Okay. And as always, if you wish to be supportive of the channel, like, share, subscribe, or look at the options where you can donate along the ticker at the bottom. It would be greatly appreciated. So remember, you can manifest whatever you want, however you want, whenever you want. And I look forward to vibing with you all again next week on another edition of Unfiltered Perspectives with TPT Intuition. Until we meet again, grace and gratitude. Take care. Bye.